Hello, my sweet summer children. I'm back with the juice to get you through the long night. I'm here to break down Game of Thrones Season 8, Episode 2, A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. I'm about to break this down how I do when I break these episodes down. First off, Brian Cogman and David Nutter did an amazing job. This was the episode we needed. This was the episode that we deserved. Like, this is probably easily one of the best episodes of Game of Thrones ever. But a lot of things happened. There's a lot we need to talk about, so let's jump right in. So Jaime wasn't necessarily on trial. It wasn't like a formal trial, but he had to convince the North that he was there for the right reasons. While Jaime's talking and defending himself, saying he would have done everything he did all over again, Bran breaks in like, the things we do for love. Which everything Jaime has done, even the awful things he has done, it has all been for love and for his family. Brienne vouches for Jaime, which was to be expected, but I was also impressed with Sansa in this scene. When Brienne spoke for Jaime, Sansa immediately agreed he should stay. Sansa truly trusts Brienne, and I think that means that Sansa is a pretty good judge of character. This new Sansa, I'm really liking this new Sansa. Ayy. So Sansa, immediately taking Brienne's side and saying, Jaime should stay. That seemed to take Daenerys by surprise, and she didn't like it. Tyrion vouches for Jaime, and ultimately Daenerys is outnumbered because Jon kind of vouches for Jaime too, and Jaime gets to stay in Winterfell. So Grey Worm gives Jaime Widow's Wail back, and there's this long, tense stare down between Jaime and Grey Worm, and this is one of those things that I think may come back to haunt us in the next episode. Either Jaime is going to have to put down a White Walker Grey Worm, or vice versa. Grey Worm is going to have to put down a White Walker Jaime. I don't like it. I don't like it. I did not like that stare at all, not even a little bit. So there's this exchange between Daenerys and Tyrion about Tyrion knowing that Cersei was lying or Tyrion being a fool. And let's talk about this for a second. I have to give a shout out to my Twitteros friend, Patrick. Patrick has a blog and he writes for Watchers on the Wall, and he just tweets the most amazing tweets ever. But anyway, he's so freaking smart. He did this thread and I was wondering how Tyrion became an idiot all of a sudden. Why is he all of a sudden dumb? It wasn't making sense to me because Tyrion was always the smartest person in Game of Thrones. And Pat made it make sense for me. So George has talked about the human heart in conflict with itself. He said this: I don't want to deny that I write in fantasy. I think I obviously do. There's magic and there's dragons and swords and all the traditional trappings of fantasy here. But I've also written in other genres in the past, a lot of science fiction, horror, and books that are strange hybrids of all these things. I've always agreed with William Faulkner. He said that the human heart in conflict with itself is the only thing worth writing about. I've always taken that as my guiding principle, and the rest is just a set dressing. So basically, Game of Thrones and A Song of Ice and Fire, the big picture, it's about the heart in conflict with itself. So Pat did this total Twitter analysis where he basically said that Tyrion told Cersei to lie. And Tyrion did this so Daenerys would go north, because if Cersei doesn't lie, then Daenerys won't go north and fight the real war. And Tyrion knows the real war is more important because Tyrion is smart. He's never been dumb. So Pat said that every so often Tyrion reveals a certain weakness for Cersei. Just like he always wanted Tywin's approval, Tyrion also wants some kind of affection/approval from Cersei. Tyrion knows his sister, but a part of him wants to be closer to her. And that is the human heart in conflict with itself. And to me, this was mind-blowing for me, and it totally made sense. So follow Pat on Twitter. I'll link him in the description box. So Tyrion knows who and what Cersei is, but there's a part of him that still wants to be loved by her, or at least there is some validation he wants from her. And this isn't necessarily saying that Tyrion is Team Cersei, because I 100% do not think Tyrion is Team Cersei, but he needed to get Daenerys north to fight the real war, and at the same time, he got to give his sister a gift. Anyway, Gendry is in the forge, heat hammer fold, and Arya comes creeping through. Gendry is telling Arya it's gonna be safer down in the crypts, and Arya has to school him that she's not just gonna be sitting by the fire in the crypts, huddled around Varys and all the other women and children. She's gonna fight, and he gets working on that weapon right away because he sees that Arya means business. In the Godswood, Jaime and Bran have a conversation, and it goes down like we thought it would. If you didn't push me, you wouldn't be the man you are now, and I wouldn't be the three-eyed raven. It seems Bran has put the drugs down, and he's seeming a little more human than in the first episode because he's seeming a little more approachable and a little less like spazzing out Bran, you know what I mean? He's not the Brandon Stark that we used to know, so we kind of knew that this reunion between Jaime and Bran wasn't going to be a vengeful one. But Bran spent my head around because Jaime was like, well, what happens after this? After all this is over? And Bran hits him with the cryptic message. How do you know there is an after? So I think this is more solid proof that Jaime isn't gonna make it in the wars to come. Bran can see glimpses of the future. He knows what's really good. He knows Jaime is gonna have to sacrifice himself to save the world. I feel like that's always been Jaime's arc of redemption. Tyrion and Jaime walk the yard at Winterfell. Stark bannermen spit at them and shit. Have some bloody gratitude. Show some respect here. They're here to fight for the North. They're here to fight for the realm. But Tyrion and Jaime's conversation is an interesting one. They talk about Cersei and Dany. Tyrion says, maybe after I'm dead, I'll march down to King's Landing and rip her apart. Well, is this foreshadowing? Tyrion is Cersei's little brother, and there is the Valonqar prophecy. I'm still Team Euron, but hey, we're going to find out sooner or later. So Jaime and Brienne are talking, and we learn that Brienne will be in charge of the left flank, and Jaime wants Brienne to command him. This episode was like the Brienne and Jaime episode we all deserve. The Brienne and Jaime episode we've all been waiting for. And oh boy, we're going to get into all of that. Now in Winterfell, Jorah comes to see Daenerys and he gives her counsel. Jorah is defending Tyrion. Let me just say, there is all this talk about Daenerys being a mad queen, and all of that is nonsense. I have an entire character study on Daenerys. Daenerys is not gonna be a mad queen. She's not going mad. She still takes counsel. She values the opinions of others. Jorah changes her mind about Tyrion. Put yourself in Daenerys' shoes and see how you would react to all of these things that are happening to you. So Jorah ends up changing her mind about Tyrion, which we find out later, and he also advises her to talk with Sansa, which she does. And they start to find some common ground, and then they don't. It's a really good scene, but it's hard to know how genuine they both are being. Sansa seems to think that Jon can be manipulated by Daenerys because Jon is in love with her. But Daenerys is also in love with Jon, and Daenerys is like, wait a minute, who's really being manipulated here? I'm here fighting Jon's war. I could have been on my throne already. They clearly don't agree when it comes to the North. Sansa is not trying to be a part of the Seven Kingdoms under Daenerys Targaryen's rule. She wants the North to be free and independent. But before we can get into what's gonna happen afterwards, they're interrupted. And guess what? Theon is home. Theon is in Winterfell, and Theon and Sansa have this moment, and I cry again. I'm like, why do I cry so much? But I think they are setting up something really interesting for Sansa and Theon. They are making Sansa and Theon into a couple, and I'm going to show you what I mean in a few minutes, so just hold on to your horses. So this scene with Davos and Gilly and this girl, the girl looks like Shireen. And I'm about to go super tinfoil on you, but what if this girl is actually Melisandre in a glamour? The burned face, connecting with Davos, and then when Melisandre, disguised as a little girl, discovers that Gilly is going into the crypts with baby Sam, then all of a sudden she agrees to go into the crypts as well. Well, we all know that Melisandre has a thing for sacrificing kids, and baby Sam was promised to the Night King by Craster, and a lot of people think that baby Sam is important, and what if Melisandre is gonna sacrifice him? But that's tinfoil, so let's get back to actual good takes. So let's move on. So Jon, Beric, Tormund, Ed, and Sam, they all reunite. The dead is coming. They will be here before the sun comes up tomorrow. Then we get Jon's speech in a war council. Jon basically says that they can't win. It's too many of them. So they devise a plan to use Bran as a bait. And then Bran kind of reveals what I've been saying for years. Can you hear me in the back? Bran is the Night King's target. Bran reveals the Night King wants an endless night. He wants to erase this world, and I'm his memory. He's tried before with other three-eyed ravens. This is a huge reveal. It may seem like a shallow thing for the Night King just to want to kill everyone, but that's not exactly what he wants. He wants release. He's a prisoner of his own body and not of his own making. The children created him and discarded him, and as long as there's a three-eyed raven, as long as the three-eyed raven exists, so must the Night King, because the three-eyed raven is the memory. He holds the key. Bran and the Night King are like the poles of the world, like the North Pole and the South Pole. Like they have to exist. Not this R'hllor and Great Other. No, they're not the two. It's Bran and the Night King. The mark the Night King put on Bran is still there. So they will lay a trap for the Night King and try to lure him into the Godswoods. The Night King isn't an idiot though, and I doubt this plan's gonna work. This shit is probably gonna fail. Some evidence that the Night King is a green seer. Like, yeah, Bran, you can see the future, so can the Night King. Hey. So the dragons will be in the Godswood protecting Bran. So will Theon Greyjoy. If you didn't watch my video on Theon that I did a few months ago, let's just say that video has aged perfectly, like fine wine. Seriously, what the show is doing with Theon is tracking perfectly with Theon's book arc. Theon has a strong connection to the Godswood at Winterfell. I think Theon and Bran may have a huge moment in the Godswood, and that speech from the trailer, everything you did brought you where you are today, home. I think that's Bran speaking to Theon. I will link that video I did on Theon and the traitor's sacrifice. I will link that video below, all about the Winds of Winter preview chapters and Theon's connection to Bran and the Godswoods. I will link that for you. Anyway, Daenerys is back on Team Tyrion, and she doesn't want him in danger. She's all like, get in the crypts, my lord. I'm gonna need your brain at the end of this. And I mean, she does kind of. She needs Tyrion. I'm sorry, Tyrion is not dumb, and Tyrion is going to fight for Daenerys. So then we see this map, and this map shows how badly they are outnumbered. This is the White Walkers. This is the army of the living. They are like outnumbered 4-1. It looks like Targaryen forces, which are unsullied in Dothraki, will be in the vanguard, right in the middle. Brienne, the Knights of the Vale, Jaime, and some Stark forces on the left flank, and the right flank is all Northern Lords. It looks like the Mormonts will be in battle inside the gates of Winterfell, actually, so they must gonna be like archers on the battlements. Jon walks out on Daenerys. Daenerys tries to talk to him, and Jon's like, you know, I'm leaving. I kind of think it's awkward for him that he was getting down with his auntie, and he needs to tell her, oh, by the way, my claim is stronger than yours. I mean, it's totally awkward for Jon. Like, can you imagine? So then Missandei, Grey Worm, they talk about what's next after Daenerys has won, and they talk about going to Nath, which kind of confirms for me that one of them is gonna die. If you think this has a happy ending, you haven't been paying attention. So yeah, them talking about all of the good things that they're gonna do when this is over makes me think they're not gonna be able to do any of the good things they talked about doing when this shit is over. Sam, Ed, and Jon are on the battlements, and Ghost is there. They freed Ghost. They heard all of your battle cries. At least we can see him now. Like, it wasn't real big. But we have Ghost. And a lot of people were like, Gray, you always tripping about Ghost. Why are you tripping about Ghost so hard? To me, the direwolves are so important to House Stark. They're just as important to House Stark as the dragons are to House Targaryen. And I just don't think they were shown enough love. So they're on the battlements of Winterfell and they're talking, and it's like old days when they're back on the wall. They remember Gren and Pip. I mean, the feels were going on all through this episode. Now, the best part of the episode, in my opinion, all begins with drinks in Winterfell with Jaime, Tyrion, Brienne, Pod, Davos, and Tormund. First of all, could you imagine the conversations Tormund and Sweet Robin could have over breast milk? I thought this scene was hilarious. Like, I was dying laughing. The way they all look at Tormund, like, they're just looking at him like, what the hell is up with this guy? And I just love Tormund. I just love him. So Arya and the Hound, they meet again. This time it's more compassion there. It's more humanity. They really tried to humanize Arya more this episode. The Hound clearly doesn't like the Lord of Light. Like, he's about to toss Beric over the battlements. And you can't blame the Hound for not liking the Lord of Light, because he was burned by fire. He knows what it feels like to be burned, and he knows it's not really a good thing. Anyway, Arya gets her weapon from Gendry. This weapon is what Arya is going to be the best with. Arya trained with this weapon when she was blind in Braavos. This is the weapon that she trained with against the Waif. Also, Arya is the Waif theories are kind of blown to pieces, because when she stripped for her man, you could see the scars that the Waif left on her. So Gendry and Arya got it on. I was shocked. I gasped. I was like, oh, wait a minute. But I get it. It was a step to try to humanize her character because she seems so out of touch with humans. Arya also finds out that Gendry is Robert Baratheon's bastard. What did Robert say to Ned again? I have a son, you have a daughter, let's join our houses. I can totally, I would die if Arya ends up with Gendry. But Arya having a connection like this with Gendry almost makes me think that it's an undead Gendry that ends up chasing Arya through Winterfell. That scene that we see from the trailer, that scene where she's running and she's terrified, that could very possibly be Gendry that's chasing her. So back to the best part of the episode. So Tormund, Davos, Pod, Tyrion, Brienne, Jaime, they're all in the Great Hall of Winterfell, and they're all talking. And they start talking about being a knight. And Tormund says, if I were a king, I would make you a knight. And Brienne says, women can't be knights. And this scene had me ugly crying. This scene is so important to the big picture. Jaime knights Brienne with Widow's Wail. Like, I was getting so glassy-eyed when he first started, and then when he's like, in the name of the warrior, I charge you to be brave, I lost it. Like, I just lost it, ugly crying everywhere. And then he says, arise, Brienne of Tarth, a knight of the Seven Kingdoms. And Tormund is all clapping like a proud papa, Pod being there, Jaime doing it, and then him saying a knight in the Seven Kingdoms. It's a direct callback to the Tales of Dunk and Egg. Those stories, the Tales of Dunk and Egg, are called A Knight in the Seven Kingdoms. And George has said Brienne is a descendant of Sir Duncan the Tall. And Sir Duncan was the most honorable knight in all of the Seven Kingdoms. But on the tragic side, Sir Duncan died tragically at Summerhall. And I'm literally terrified for Brienne now. So Lyanna Mormont and Jorah talk. She's not hearing it. She wants to fight. She's not hiding. She'll be fighting with the others. Sam gives Jorah heartsbane, and it's a touching moment because there's all the talk about Lord Commander Mormont, and he was one of my favorites. Like, I really loved him. I really loved the actor that played him. I hated the way that he died. So his son fighting the White Walkers with Sam's sword is amazing, and I cannot wait to see it in all of its full glory. And then back in the room with Sir Brienne and Jaime and everyone, they decide to sing a song, and it's Jenny's song. Jenny is Jenny of Oldstones with the flowers in her hair. She died at Summerhall. Another Summerhall reference. This has really creeping me out. There's too many Summerhall references in one episode for it not to mean anything. I'm going to be doing an entire thorough video about this, so be on the lookout for that. Also, while Jenny's song is playing, something interesting is happening. They are pairing up these couples, and it's odd as hell. Jenny's song is a love song, but it's a tragic love song. Jenny's love story ends in tragedy. Over the Jenny song's lyrics, we get some couples. Some that we know are couples, and one that shocked my socks off. It pans from Brienne to Jaime, and then it goes to Sam and Gilly, Sansa and Theon, Arya and Gendry, Missandei and Grey Worm, to Jon and Dany. So pause. They are basically telling us these are the lovers, these are the couples, these are the people. And the only one that shocked me was Sansa and Theon. In the show, Theon and Sansa do seem to have this connection, this bond, both of them being Ramsay Bolton's victims. In the books, Theon even thought he would marry Sansa once. Rob's younger sister, brown-haired, long-faced, skinny as a stick, always dirty. Sansa was the pretty one. He remembered a time when he had thought that Lord Eddard Stark might marry him to Sansa and claim him for a son, but that had only been a child's fancy. The pairing of Sansa and Theon could be a coincidence, but it could be by design, and I think it's by design. So Jon and Daenerys are in the crypts, and Jon tells Daenerys that he's Aegon Targaryen, her nephew. She doesn't believe him. She thinks that Sam and Bran are like tricking him, and she wants no part of it. The horn blows 3 times, and the army of the dead have been spotted. There's no time for them to talk about it, so there are tons of White Walkers. Craster said that he had 99 sons, so minus the ones who were killed, the Night King probably has like 95 White Walkers. This weapon seems like the Night King's weapon, but of course the Night King is going to be on Viserion, and this is just a White Walker with a man bun. The 2 White Walkers on the end happen to have 2 of those ice spears, the same kind that took out Viserion, and we have 2 dragons left, and they just happen to have 2, and so I hope someone kills those 2 White Walkers first. I mean, they likely don't have the same aim that the Night King has, but I don't know. I think it's interesting that they highlight those 2 on the end with those 2 spears, and we have 2 dragons. But anyway, what did you guys think of the episode? My preview for episode 3 will be up tomorrow. I have a lot of videos I want to do this week. I mean, this episode was so crazy. Like, some of these scenes deserve their own individual analysis and breakdown and theory that goes along with them, because I have all of this shit going around in my head. So yeah, in basic words, the juice will flow. As always, thanks for watching. Thanks to everyone who supports me on Patreon. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please click the subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and join the Sweet Summer family. Okay, my sweet summer children, have a good day.